Hey, GratiTuesday. This is the OG GratiTuesday crew from Talking Rain, makers of sparkling ice. And this is the OG team. You want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Monique Carroll, senior recruiter here at Talking Rain.
And I'm Kirsten Giroux. I go by KG. I'm the onboarding manager here.
And I'm Ann Royce. I'm the leader of this crew and a player coach. And we are the ones who bring in all the magical people behind Sparkling Ice and all our other wonderful brands at Talking Rain Beverage Company. And we started Greta Tuesday a few years ago now. And every Tuesday when we have our meetings, we always start out with what we're thankful for. So, what are you all thankful for today?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm thankful for Happy Gratitude Tuesday, by the way. I'm thankful for divine connections. I do believe that connections are truly divine. They don't just happen by chance. So I'm grateful for connections.
I love that. Love it.
Thank you.
Following suit, transparency is the name of our game on this team.
Yes, ma'am.
I am also super, super grateful. One, for my amazing team. I am 7 months pregnant and I just reared the corner of third trimester. Hallelujah. Amen. So I am super grateful to be feeling more up and jiving with my gang.
Yay! Oh, and we're so grateful that you're getting around the corner too.
Right.
And on this Greta Tuesday, I'm also super grateful for this team. We've done a lot of really cool things together, and it's such a joy to have each other's back and bring in all these amazing people and build this culture here at Talking Rain. So, woohoo! So I want to say, Monique and KG and I were talking yesterday about the job market and how it's the worst it's been in a long time. People have lost their sense of hope in it. We wanted to share some feel good stories of being a human in this process and being treated like a human and giving you all a little bit of hope. Where to start? I think, a lot of people worry that they send in their resume and it goes into a black hole. You all know the folks we've hired over the years. We've hired hundreds of people over the last 5 years. And do we hire Nepo babies?
No.
They're not like, we don't have like super connected people, right? They didn't have like some big in.
No.
No. We have some employee referrals, but
We do.
So, does anybody have any stories they want to share of people? Monique, you had someone not long ago, I think, who got a lot of attention because of their how they operated on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what? Back to my Gratitude Tuesday comment about connections. Divine connections definitely is something I feel like in this job market, that's is something that candidates should be a little bit more creative about. It's just the way they connect and how they connect. I do remember what you're speaking of, Ian, is one particular candidate in mind that comes to mind is this individual probably contacted everyone on the team that they were seeking to, try to go to. And I remember receiving emails and, team messages about this one particular candidate. And then I'm like, who is this person? Who is this person? So I'm going through my, candidate reviews of, in that particular requisition. And I'm like, oh, okay. I understand now. So I do think that really it stuck out for me as a recruiter because I felt like this person is really making an effort to have their selves stand out by doing their due diligence, going to seek out those individuals on the team, making those connections.
So I wasn't even working on that search, but I was getting messages from other rainmakers too, like, hey, have we talked to this candidate? Because they're reaching out to me and this person, that person, the other person. So that gave that person a foot in the door and an opportunity to prove themselves.
Absolutely.
Another one that I think of, we had a candidate who applied for a job and they were, let's say it was to do with sales and marketing kind of stuff. And they had not sold beverages before. They sold a different type of product and they called it out right on their application. And there's a part where we ask, tell us why you're interested and what makes you a good fit. And they went all out and said, I know I haven't sold sparkling ice, but here's what I have sold, and here's how I come up to speed and everything. And then throughout the interview process, they showed up with sparkling ice in their background. They had their sparkling ice beverage and they talked about their favorite flavor. When they came in for a final interview, they had sparkle on their jacket and made a point of saying, because it's sparkling ice and I'm anything but subtle. And it was like, that got that person noticed. Now, did it get them
Yeah.
hired? No, what got them hired is their skills. They were amazing and they really marketed themselves. But that makes me think of another thing. So once we make someone an offer, it's always contingent on references, and KG is our onboarding manager. KG really takes that moment of offer acceptance to their first day and owns that. And KG, tell us about some of the stressors that people experience and how we might help them overcome some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that's probably a stressor for a lot of people is like gaps on their resume, gaps in employment. And I think just like we're all kind of speaking to being authentic and having that integrity, just be honest, speak to those gaps. Regardless of what it's related to, if you give us that knowledge and heads up going into it, that holds that integrity. We've had situations before where we've given offers to people, we've gone through the background reference check stage, and they had something on their resume that, in fact, didn't get verified on their background check and was a flag. And it's like, had we have known, had they not had lied about it, we would have hired them
Mhm.
regardless. But because they listed it as something that they had and they weren't, and they didn't have that integrity through the process, we didn't move them forward. So I think that's a really,
That's
really
right.
big thing. It's just being authentic from the beginning of the process all the way through. If you are nervous about something, have that conversation with your recruiter. If you are worried about anything that may come up, just genuinely hold that conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes me think of, we've hired a couple people who could give a master class in how to handle a situation where they're kind of sure they're not going to get a good reference from this company.
Mhm.
And one person's, came right out and said, the person I worked for is a little bit like they were very diplomatic about it, but they said, I really feel more comfortable if you could talk to anybody but this one person. And sometimes that happens too. Like we've all, if you've been around long enough, some point along the way in your career, you probably had a supervisor who wasn't awesome. And maybe you just didn't drive right or whatever, but there's usually someone else on your team who can back that up, right? And
That's
so
right.
that's what happened with this person. They gave us some other options. We still talked to a supervisor from a way back, but we talked to more recent people who could validate that, yeah, actually, we were all quitting because that one supervisor was, a little bit challenging. And that was the workaround. And they were just open and honest about it. And it was fine.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on that note too, with references, every now and again, because that's part of our process as well. If we hear something that maybe is concerning to us, whether it be job record or culture fit, we will take all of our data, we'll come back to the hiring manager, and we'll collectively kind of talk about, is this a concern? Is this something that we want to move forward with? And more often than not, when you really sell yourself, it's worth its weight in gold for us to move forward with you because you can't create a human being like you. So
Right.
sometimes those references may have a call out that you're nervous about, or you may not even know about, and they share with us.
Right.
And we still choose you because you are the best fit for the role.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's one thing I always try to, give my candidates a comfort level. Like one of the things, if I do see that gap or I see that there's, a caution for concern, and I ask them, I'm like, help me help you. Tell me a little bit more about it. And that's your opportunity just to be transparent. And that's all it is, because again, I'll be that advocate to say, hey, these are these things that I know that are pointed out. And I feel that this person should move forward, and that's that. I mean, I feel like once everyone, all the cards are on the table, then we have all the data that we need to make
Yeah.
a final decision.
This reminds me of something else. I was asked to speak at the University of Washington's Foster School of Business. It's a MBA program. and they were just about to launch and graduate and go get their first jobs. And one of them asked a question that made it clear that from his perspective, he felt like our team, the recruiting team and onboarding team, were sort of um, the challengers, and that we are interrogating him. And I said, hold on a sec. I said, honestly, we want you to solve our problem. So I think that's a really
Absolutely.
important point too. We want our next interview to be the one so we can fill this job and move on. We don't want to be talking to 10 million people. So
Yeah.
um no, if you come in with the mindset that, hey, I can solve your problem, like, hallelujah, that's good. Then we can hire you and keep going, right?
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
right. That's the goal.
Yep, that's the goal. Let's talk about something else too. Let's talk about the hiring managers that we've worked with, not just at Talking Rain, but throughout our careers. Think about the humanity behind the hiring managers and how they approach things. I've had hiring managers who, have had a couple of really great finalists and say, this one I feel like I would really gel with because we think alike and that would be awesome. But I think I'm going to go with the other one because I think we don't think alike, and that'll actually be good for me because I need someone to see my blind spots. And that
Mhm.
was really impressive too, because it showed me we're not hiring clones of each other. I really liked the thoughtfulness behind that, how this hiring manager was analyzing things. What do you run into? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing that I run into a lot. The hiring managers, they do want a different perspective. I do think that different train of thought is what the hiring managers are looking for. So, yeah,
Mhm.
they don't want a clone of themselves. They want someone that can come in and bring a new, shine a new light on things. So, yeah, that's what I've
Mhm.
experienced as well.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to, as you were just speaking to, Anne, on solving a problem too. Because I also don't want people to think that like you have to be the opposite of the hiring manager. Because you
Right.
That's
don't.
right.
You don't have
Yeah.
to
That's
be
right.
that either. But it's like coming in and jiving and maybe having a personality connection, but like you think differently.
Yeah.
That's
Or
right.
you're approaching a situation that we're giving you a problem on and you're solving the solution. Like we just want it's really about selling yourself. It's really just being yourself, being authentic, having the integrity, being genuine,
Yep.
and not just making we're going to look at your resume, we're going to care about your experience, but it's you. It's you
That's
who's
right.
making everything come together.
Yep.
Right.
How are you going to work as a collaborative teammate? Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. One other thing that comes to mind, I think this is a fun, magical story that might give some people hope. I think of folks who apply for a job that they know they don't exactly fit the requirements, but they also feel in their heart and their gut that this is what they were born to do. This wasn't at Talking Rain, this was at a different company, but I remember this gentleman applied for a rather high level position, and I rejected him out of hand. Like, I didn't even I sent him a thanks but no thanks email. It was nice, but he didn't fit the requirements. He responded back respectfully and said, and he figured out who to message, and he messaged me, and he said, thanks so much for your email. I can understand why you wouldn't give me a second glance right away because I don't have X, Y, and Z. But here's why I'd love for you to consider at least a 30-minute conversation with me. And he made his points and he connected the dots for me. Like, yeah, I don't have that, but I have this thing that's really close. I don't have that, but I have this thing that's really close. And in the business that I was in at the time, it was for senior living. And so empathy and compassion and those, soft skills are really important. And clearly, just in his approach, he showed that he could potentially be a good culture fit. So I thought, what the heck? I'll give him 30 minutes. The dude sold himself. He did a great job.
Wow.
And so I advanced them in the process. As recruiters, we don't tell the hiring managers who to hire, but we'll tell them why we're advancing them. Because, and I knew they would look at that resume and be like, Ann, what are you doing? This is not a fit. And I would say, just talk to him. You need to see if you see what I saw, and I would connect the dots for them. And at the end of the day, he went through the process and he earned that job himself. And he was at that company for 8 years. He was promoted to a VP level. It was awesome. So just because you're rejected, if you really believe in your heart of hearts that that's your role, I'm going to reference you back to my 4 tips video. I'll put a link in the comments below. Are there any other
Yeah.
little magical stories you can think of that
I
people
mean,
might
hey,
appreciate?
that was a great one. I love that. I love that because one thing recruiters do is we try to find the needle in a haystack. We try
Yeah.
to find how this person matches to the role that we're trying to fill. And if you can provide a little bit information for us, to go that next step to advance you forward, I think that is just an awesome thing, for a candidate to do. So if you do have those opportunities where, like you said, Ann, if you may not be qualified, that is, somewhat okay. You got a response from a recruiter on, sorry, we didn't select you, but here's why. And then you can then respond with, here's why I feel I am. And so I think that's just awesome. That's actually genius, to be honest with you. And that's someone that I definitely would take a second look at. So yeah.
Well, and I think the key is in that situation, he knew the culture fit we were going for. It's one thing to ask for a second look, but if you don't really have anything more to say or offer than what's already on your resume, it doesn't, that's going to be a tough sell. But
Yeah,
what he knew those soft skills we were looking
that's
for.
right.
And I encourage you, look up on Glassdoor and Indeed, watch the feeds of people who work for that company and see what the culture vibe is and sell to that as part of the overall how you sell yourself, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Don't sell yourself short either. I think something that I've seen in our experience at Talking Rain is same scenario that both of you guys are speaking to. We see this great candidate. Perhaps they're not the perfect match that we fit for that exact role, but we're like, you know what? We were kind of debating on hiring another one next year. Let's add them now. Let's do that. Like, let's add a second role. Or no, they're not at this level. Let's down level them. They're
Hmm.
such a great person. We don't want to lose you.
Right?
Yeah.
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 In
Yeah.
fact, that's another fun thing. A lot of places that we've worked over the years, one common term we use is that of silver medalist. Anyone want to say what that's about?
Yeah. The silver medalist is someone who we may not have selected for a particular role, but we'll go back and consider them as soon as we have another opportunity, maybe in that role, another opportunity comes up at a later time or whatever. So
Yeah.
there is that person that we say, okay, this is a silver medalist I want to reach out to, that I spoke with before previously. So yeah.
Yeah. I even tell them, I'll tell candidates that if that's where we go, I'll say, look, I know this isn't the news you want to hear and we're not moving forward now, but you have my personal cell phone number. The moment you see another job that looks like a fit that you apply for, you can text me and I will move you to the front of the line because we know we really, really like you. And if we had another opening, we would hire you, and that feels you made an impression and we've hired those silver medalists. So I know
That's
it's,
right.
I know you'd love the gold, but we don't always have free golds to give out. So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
KG, I was wondering when you think about the times where we've had those conversations with hiring managers when things have come up like, not sure if this is going to be a fit or not because of X, Y, and Z. What has your experience been of how the hiring managers receive and act on that information?
Very, very dependent on each candidate. We've had people with bad job records. We've had people with flags on their background checks. And when we come to the hiring manager with all of our data, just to kind of point out whatever concern it may be, um, we will have hiring managers who, again, back to that impression. the way that this person held themselves, the way that they said where they're going, regardless of where they had been, or even oversharing what they had been through to be
Mhm.
like, I'm at this stage in my life right now. I am so ready to give you and to grow and to develop. Um, the hiring manager has a say at the end of the day. So if you
Mm.
make that impression, we've had managers who are like, I see that concern. I am happy to go into this eyes wide open and to help guide them and to help make sure that they don't go down whatever the concerning path may be. And we've had phenomenal people stick with us through that.
Yeah.
So the hiring
Awesome.
manager could supersede a concern that we have, and they'll be like, you know what? This person, I don't think we could find a better match, like
Right?
regardless of whatever the concern may be.
Yep.
Um, so yeah.
Yay. That's awesome. Well, any parting thoughts, closing thoughts for people out there doing on a, out on the job hunt right now?
My only, last thought for people, I know the job market is tough right now. We know that. We understand that. We feel your pain. And at some point in time, we've all been on the other side, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've been there. So give yourself some grace and pace in this market, in this time, and just stick with it. Just hang in there. Um I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So,
Believe in
Um,
yourself.
Yep. And remember, there's actually humans that are looking at your resumes. It's not all AI. So,
that's right.
and by the way, we want to hire humans. So,
I
oh,
was
you know
gonna
what?
say that too.
You know what? Let's talk about that for a second. Monique and I made a video quite a long time ago, but I think
Oh,
it
right.
bears repeating.
Right.
Remember that one day where we both had the same experience with two different people?
That's right. Right. With the person reading a script, it felt like a script, and I
Yep.
think it was a script. Oh, my goodness gracious. AI. That's something, right?
Yep. It was very apparent that we each on the same day had candidates that had ChatGPT or some AI listening to our interview and giving them the answers.
It was
The
very
answers
scripted.
were so generic, and the way that they answered them felt so generic. It was like they were reading a script. And in both cases, Monique and I, we found out later, like we compared notes later, we just threw them curveball questions, like, well, but at Coca Cola, tell me exactly what happened. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, shoot, I didn't
Yeah,
prepare for this one. And then, and then they had to put down their technology and actually answer a question.
that's
So,
right.
we don't want to hire AI. We want to hire a
You can tell.
human. And we actually want to hire a human that has scars and has done things imperfectly because nobody's perfect. And what did you learn from that imperfection, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're all sending good vibes to everybody out there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good vibes. All
Good
right.
vibes.
Well,
Happy
happy
Gratitude
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We hope this gave you a little bit of hope out there, and keep at it. You're a human. We're humans. Let's do this together.
Happy
Yay.
gratitude
Yay!
Tuesday.
Happy Gratitude
Happy,
Tuesday.